Program are those of the speakers and the host and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
It's Wednesday. You know what that means. Anthony Hartwig here in the studio with Scotty Mincher, and it is Wrestling Wednesdays with Gary Altizer. Gary, how we doing? How was the week?
I'm doing good. Got our first tournament in the books. Season's in full swing now. My team did pretty good. We only had 6 weight classes filled because I had some guys out hurt. And then I had one weight class. I had 3 guys in it because of the state alpha test. Told them they weren't allowed to go anywhere else. So we finished in 9th out of 17, I think, with just those 6 weight classes. I was pretty happy with that. We had a champion, a runner-up, and a 4th and 5th, and a whole lot of pins. So as far as my team goes, we accomplished what I thought we should have. But we do, like anybody else, we got things we needed to work on. That's what we're doing this week, getting ready for the United tournament.
We have a good show today. We're going to talk about that, the other 9 YSN schools that were there with you in Malvern, some of the results over the weekend as well. But we also have, Scotty, we have some ice hockey players coming on at 1:15 and 1:30 as well. So we're going to have a fun day on Running Point. We have Orange Ice Hockey joining us at 1:15 and 1:30 today. So it's going to be a fun show. Gary, like I said, 9 other YSN schools were at this Malvern tournament. What were some of your biggest takeaways? I know I got the results from Jackson Milton, and they had a pretty good day there. Who else kind of really stood out to you in Malvern?
Yeah, Jackson Milton finished in 5th. I got the results sitting up here. United was 2nd. Waterloo was 3rd. Louisville 6th. Southern 7th. Liberty 8th. Wellsville 9th. Waterloo looked tough. I think they had 3 champions. Of the 14 weight classes, 9 of them were the champions were from a YSN school. Waterloo had Rex Fryer at 120, Aiden King at 138, and Justin Fox at 175. I thought they did pretty good. Jackson Milton had a really nice showing. They had a couple champions. They had Jaden Scott at 113, and they had Owen McDevitt at 126. Dallas McCracken and Jensen Baker won the 285 and 144 weight classes for United, and Ty Rambo won the 132-pound weight class for Wellsville. He finished 4-0 on the day with 4 pins, and 3 of the 4 kids he beat placed 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. So I thought he had a really nice showing as well. Malvern runs a nice tournament. They had a really great coaches room, which if you're a coach, you know, you're always looking forward to the coaches room. They fed us well. They held a nice tournament. It ran smoothly. It ran through quick. They got the thing started as soon as they could, ran us right through. And there was a lot of full brackets. So a lot of kids got a lot of matches. The full 5 matches, you're allowed to wrestle up to 5 in a day. So the closer you can get to that many matches in one day, the happier you are as a coach. But I would say that all of those teams, United, Waterloo, Jackson Milton, Southern Liberty, and us, I think we all performed pretty well. And everybody looks to be in the full swing of things right now as we head towards United's tournament, which is this Saturday.
I know Liberty was a team that people were going to watch in the preseason with the coaching change. What do you think? Was this a good start for them under a new head coach?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they finished in 8th place. Ryan Williams is their head coach. He's a new head coach, but he's been with that program for a long time. He's familiar with those kids. He has a lot of kids on his roster, and I think he had all but 1 weight class filled. So I think he did well. You know, anytime you can get that many weight classes filled on the Division III roster, you're doing a good job. I don't think that Liberty's going to miss a beat, to be honest with you. I was talking to him coach's room during the tournament. He's kind of going through the same thing I am. He lost Haiti. I lost my main assistant. We were talking. It's kind of like the routines and the job roles that we knew each of the coaches had. Those are the kind of things that change, and the kind of things that you have to work out during the season because you have new guys in the room with you, or you're trying to give guys that have been there different roles. So I just think maybe behind the scenes, Ryan's working some things out, but the results on the mat, he's right. They're picking up right where they left off.
We've seen it. We've seen it in other sports too, where a legendary coach comes and leaves the program, and it's a really good opportunity for the school to say we're going to have someone in-house in the program take over, because you don't have to really worry about them messing up what they've already built, right? So they already know what the standards were set, what kind of the old coach did to succeed, and they can come in with their own ideas for sure, but the foundational blocks are already there. And I think that's what makes it really good to have someone in-house replace a coach like Haiti.
Yeah, the familiarity there with the kids, and which the way he, I'm assuming he runs the program probably close to what Haiti had things in order. So I'm sure that Liberty Board of Education had no problem taking that recommendation and giving him the vote of confidence there. So, like you said, it's easier to do it with somebody who's already familiar with the kids and who is already familiar with the community and well-liked. Those guys have always done a well job there. So I think that they'll be just fine moving forward.
Speaking of Haiti, we were supposed to see Boardman in action tonight against Uniontown Lake. That match has been canceled tonight due to illness, which brings up this point. I know wrestling is a really close quarter sport, and we're seeing a lot of sickness pop up in this beginning of the winter sports. We've seen a lot of basketball games being canceled. I mean, as a wrestling coach in a sport that's even more close-knit and close contact than basketball, does that kind of worry you that we're starting to see a little bit of a spike in even basketball cancellations?
Yeah, I mean, it's always a worry, especially in the post-COVID world that we live in. Last year, we were supposed to go to this Malvern tournament, and somebody within the staff and kids got COVID, so we had to shut things down for 2 weeks. These things pop up. There's nothing you can really do about it. I know there's also some kind of flu bug that has been going around in the area that's really hit some teams hard. It hit us a little bit at the beginning of the season, but we seem to come out of it okay. You always have to take that chance when you're in a sport like wrestling where it's 100% contact, not just full contact, but 100% contact, that is going to happen, and it could spread well. But I feel like wrestling, of all the sports, did an amazing job with COVID. As the actual COVID year, that 2020-21 year, of keeping teams separated. There were only a handful of tournaments. It was a lot of duels, whereas one kid wrestled another kid. You weren't shaking hands with the other team or the other coaches. And I feel like it did a better job than the team sports, because you could keep one kid in contact with one other kid, and that was it, where it wasn't, basically all five guys coming into contact with all five guys on the basketball court, or 11 and on the football field, things like that. But if you get something inside of your wrestling room, it could spread fast.
I read a few days ago, I read that dating back to the year 2017, so recently, within the last 5 years, Ohio ranked number one as far as states with the most ranked wrestlers, with PA close behind. I think they edged out PA by one. I think Ohio had 32, PA had 31. But what do you think in your mind puts, do you think Ohio is, would you say that in your mind they're still the best state for high school wrestling talent, and even Pennsylvania not far behind? Do you think they're still the cream of the crop? And is there one thing that kind of gives them the edge, or is it more layered? Is there more to it than just one thing?
Well, yeah. So I would say Pennsylvania is the best state in the country for high school wrestling. I'm surprised that Ohio was ahead. I'm wondering if that is a college All-Americans or if that's like nationally ranked guys. I'm just wondering where that list is that you got. But it's pretty well known in the wrestling community that Pennsylvania is number one. They have a tradition there where in the wintertime, you get a lot of kids that wrestle. And you think about the state of Pennsylvania, they have on the East Coast, they have Philadelphia. On the West Coast, the western end of the state, they have Pittsburgh. And in between, there's just a lot of space, a lot of small towns, a lot of country area. So, a lot of those kids don't have basketball hoops, in their small town because their houses are separated by some space. So they're in the wrestling room. I think that Ohio mirrors that in a lot of ways. And Pennsylvania is known for their mat wrestling, which means when you're on the mat, you can really score a lot of points. It's really the best way to become a great wrestler is to be good on the mat. And that's what Pennsylvania is known for. I would say Ohio is probably better on their feet than they are on the mat. But I would say Pennsylvania is number one. And in my mind, Ohio number two. New Jersey, Illinois, probably New York, California are all in the mix as well near the top. But I would say Pennsylvania, Ohio, New Jersey, Illinois would be your top four. And there would be some argument on where second, third, and fourth is. But in my mind, it's Ohio number two, Pennsylvania number one. And like you said, it's layered. It's a difficult thing to answer. Who knows why? I mean, Pennsylvania and Ohio are two of the most populated states in the country. They're both in the top 10 in population. So you mean that plays into it as well. But if you live in Mississippi, you're probably outside playing a sport a lot more in the wintertime than you would be in Ohio or Pennsylvania. So the weather absolutely has something to do with it as well.
Do you think there's any correlation between like the rural, like you brought up, like Pennsylvania has Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, but then a lot of small rural towns in between. Do you think the more rural states also might have bigger wrestling numbers, like the Iowas, Nebraskas, the Kansases, Oklahomas, countries, states like that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Iowa is another one. Iowa is known for wrestling basically because of Dan Gable. Dan Gable, he's an Olympic gold medalist. He went 99-1 in his college career. He really put the sport on a national watch, and really the interest in the sport in Iowa just took off after him. He was the head coach at Iowa University for I don't know how many 20-something years. They won I don't know how many national championships, a ridiculous amount. And to this day, that Iowa Hawkeyes program is still number one. They're number two now to Penn State. Penn State has the most ridiculous college program. I don't know how any sport for any college team could compare to the last 10 years or so. Cale Sanderson's been the head coach at Penn State, and he went to Iowa State in college and coached there for a couple of years. He went to Penn State, and I would say the reason would be because he is right in the heart of the best wrestling in the country. His recruiting is absolutely ridiculous, and his kids, when they are on the mat, they overachieve. They not only achieve to their potential, but they overachieve, and that is a very hard thing to do with blue chip kid after blue chip kid, number one kid in the country. Their only way for them to go is down, and I swear he gets more out of wrestlers than I've ever seen any coach anywhere at any level.
Reminiscent of maybe what UCLA had in the 70s with basketball, where it was just just a different level. You couldn't beat them. They won 6 straight championships at UCLA with Coach Wooden. Before we let you go though,
he just and it's like every kid wants to wrestle for him, right, too. They're lining up. It's almost become, there was a time where you would see a kid transfer, and it's like, man, Penn State's getting another kid like this caliber. Like, there's only 10 spots. Like, what are these guys doing? But they all want to be in that room. They all want to be around him. And he was an undefeated wrestler. I think he was 142-0 in his college career with 4 national championships. He was hardly ever scored on. I think his closest match was 3 points. And for as amazing as a college wrestler he was, I think he's a better coach than he was a wrestler.
All right, Gary, before we let you go, we have to preview the week ahead for wrestling. I know you said there's a big tournament in United. What else is going on this weekend? What should you wrestling fans look forward to in the coming week?
So we know Canfield and South Range both won the state championships in football. it looks like Canfield will be at the Lakewood Classic, and South Range will be at the Riverside Rumble. Austintown, Fitch, Howland, and Boardman have a quad set up this Saturday, and Louisville will be at the Ironman. We talked about the Ironman a lot last season. It's the hardest high school wrestling tournament in the country. That's held at Cuyahoga Falls Walsh Jesuit High School. You'll see future NCAA champions most likely wrestling in there this weekend. So I'm not sure. They didn't give the brackets yet of who's wrestling for each team, but I know Louisville will be there. And as for this United tournament, East Palestine, Salem United, Western Reserve, Brookfield, Beaver Local, South Range, Waterloo, Howland, and Wellsville will all be sending kids to this United tournament. So if you're a fan of the YSN schools, that'd be one to check out.
All right, Gary, thank you so much for taking the time this week. We love having you. You bring so much knowledge to our show. We appreciate you. We can't wait to recap all that you just talked about next week with you for another episode of Wrestling Wednesdays next week from 1 to 2.
Thanks, guys.
Gary Altizer, our in-house wrestling guru, joining us for Wrestling Wednesdays. We're going to have that every single week for you at 1 o'clock, Wrestling Wednesdays with Gary. Can't wait to continue that. We'll have a lot of wrestling to recap next week. But right now, we're going to go into the world of ice hockey, Scotty, as we have Orange ice hockey players. We're going to start with Dylan Fellinger from Orange. Dylan, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We're excited. This is our first hockey interview.
I'm excited too. Thanks for having me.
All right, so I guess our first question is: take us into the world of high school ice hockey. What's it like, and what makes you kind of into this sport? What got you into it, and what are some of the things that you like so much about it?
I've been playing for a while now. I started playing probably around the age of like 6, 7, and then since then I've just stuck with it. High school has been awesome. It's been competitive. Recently we've started to get some students out to games, which has made it a lot more fun and a lot more exciting.
There's like maybe 80 teams in the state of Ohio that have ice hockey. So how much do you guys really have to travel when you're playing teams?
We've been keeping it. I'd say the most we travel around 30 minutes. All obviously you're taking buses as a team, but it's never too bad. I think this weekend we play Kent, which is pretty far from Orange. It's about like maybe 30, 45 minutes in between there, but that's about the farthest we have to go.
All right, so I've also been told by your AD, Mr. Porter, that this is a very personality-driven hockey team. A lot of personalities on this team. Take us in the locker room. What do you think defines the personality of the Orange Lions in the ice hockey rink?
Oh yeah, I think we got a good mix of guys. We got a bunch of different personalities in there. It's a good group of people. It's real fun. We got a bunch of kids that just like playing. A couple kids that just started but we're working on it, and just the good group of people. I like hanging around them.
I got your stats so far. You've played 6 games and you've scored 8 goals, and you don't have to be a math major to realize that if you have more goals than games, you're doing something right. What has been working so well for you at the start of this season?
We've really been offensively. We've been moving. We got some great new forwards. Got a couple freshmen in this year we're working together well. We're moving the puck well and getting a lot in the net, which is always nice.
It's always nice to hear that buzzer go off and get a lot in the net. When you're looking at high school hockey, I'm sure there's a lot of kids in your school that, when they're freshmen, they're coming up into high school, they kind of want to learn and get into the program. What do you think are some of the fundamentals that the kids can learn early that you think are the most important to learn when you're starting in ice hockey?
The 2 big things I think would be, first, just work on your skating. That's definitely, you got to get the skating down, and then everything will come after that. It takes a while to learn good skating, but after that, everything will come, and then just learn the rules. There's a lot of them, but just do a little research, and yeah.
You talked about how you've been playing this game for a while. What was it that kind of got you passionate about the sport and made you want to really dive into it and put a lot of time into it?
I think it was, probably it was just going to, when I was young, as my family, we'd go to a couple Monsters games, which was, it's cool to have them in the hometown, and watching them's fun, and it got me into it. Just wanted me to start because no one else in my family played hockey until my brother did, but we started around the same time.
So no one in the family played hockey, but are they big hockey fans? Like, do you think you came from a family that was passionate about the sport and root for teams and things like that got you kind of into it?
Yeah, I'd say so. My family's just big into sports in general, so we'll just always have some sport playing on the TV, and hockey's up there every once in a while, which is fun to watch.
Dylan, I wanted to know. Anthony talked about your great start, the hot start, 8 goals in only 6 games. But coaches, they always say there's always room for improvement. No one ever coaches, a perfect game, or a player doesn't play a perfect game. So I want to know from you, uh, even though you're off to this fantastic start, what do you think? Where is the area you think you can improve the most as a player?
I would say I play center, which you got to be offensive and defensive. You're kind of all over the place, so I'm getting the goals in. I think I gotta work on helping out a little bit more defensively, maybe just like staying back a little more when needed, and just kind of like reading what's going on around me, and knowing when to play offensive and when to play defensive.
Not just a statistical leader, but you're also asked to be, a vocal leader and emotional leader to this team. How have you handled that kind of responsibility and trying to, keep everybody up and keep everybody energized and be a leader in this locker room?
It's been, it was different. I'd say the years before I was pretty, I don't know, I was pretty quiet a little bit, but this year had to, I've got a bunch of seniors though that were great, great friends with all the seniors, and that helps. And we all kind of work as a group and try and get the team going before games, and just like hang out outside of hockey. We always have like dinners before the games and stuff like that. So just getting the guys together.
You said it, you had to kind of come out of your shell this year and get a little bit more vocal. What were some of the things that you kind of did or happened to you that kind of helped you helped you kind of get out of your shell and be more vocal?
One thing that definitely helped me is other captain Max. We kind of go at it together, and he just going at it together, we work well together, and it definitely helped me be more vocal and stuff, and help out around just anywhere I can.
Do you have any hockey role models that you looked up to when you were getting into the sport and learning it and trying to model your game after?
Oh, for sure. I'd say a big one that David Pastrnak, who plays for the Bruins. I don't know why, just always loved watching him. He's just a great player, and I love try to be like him as much as possible.
Do you have a favorite NHL team that you watch religiously and you try to keep up on their success?
I wouldn't say I'm like I watch the Blue Jackets definitely as much as possible. I know that they're not so good this year, but I try to follow them a little bit the best I can.
What was the hardest hockey skill that you had to master when you were kind of in your growing stages of a player?
Probably just the contact, honestly. I've always been a smaller guy. This year I finally grew a little bit, but coming into like junior year, I was probably like 5'5" almost, and it's just a bunch of bigger kids. But once you kind of get used to it, you learn to be able to hit them a little bit, take the hits, and just try and work around them.
What is, now that you've had mastered those skills and you're kind of coming into your own as a hockey player, what are some of your favorite parts of playing this sport and being a hockey player, being able to represent your high school on the hockey rink?
Favorite part's definitely just the group of people on this hockey team. I always have a great time, and also getting to represent the schools, just real cool. And I said earlier, we're getting more people out to the hockey games, which is fun. So getting to represent in front of everyone. It's pretty cool.
All right, so I'm going to let you be a campaign manager, maybe get even more people out to the hockey games. What do you think is the biggest selling point of this team and biggest selling point for people to come out and support you guys?
We've definitely, I'd say, biggest selling point. We've been putting in some goals this year. We've had a decent amount of high scoring games. We just played Nordonia. I think we put in 6, and that's always fun to watch. Just a bunch of goals get put in. It's definitely good for the from the stands.
All right, so we're talking about you as an athlete, but you're also a student in Orange. So let's talk about some of the things that you do in school. What are some of your favorite subjects that you're able to study at Orange?
I'd say I've been a science guy. This year I'm taking a marketing class, which is, I'd say, my favorite this year. Just trying to get ready for college, basically. So the marketing helps a lot. It's a good skill to have.
Man, if you're taking marketing class, then I just teed you up for a good promo for the team. You're just marketing the hockey team. That's all you're doing. That's good.
Exactly.
What about some subjects that you've had to work hard at or that you struggle a little bit more with that take a little bit more of your focus to succeed at?
English, probably. I've never been much of a reading guy, but I've been working on it. I just haven't, I don't know. It's never been my forte, but we've been getting through the classes.
What is the hardest English assignment you think you've ever had in your schooling career?
Ooh, that's a hard one. Definitely just probably last year, just a big just those research papers like get you just those have to write those couple of pages. I always wait too long to start and then got to cram it all in a couple of nights.
All right, so we've talked about students coming to your games. What's your favorite sport to go and support and be a part of a student section for?
I'd say this year, I'd say probably the basketball games are fun. Just being inside and in a small area, you can get loud and get hype. It's pretty fun to watch.
All right, so if you had any other sport that you could throw your hat in the ring that you're not involved in right now, what sport do you think you watch and say, man, I could try my best at that?
It's a good question. I'd probably say maybe basketball. Just fun to watch, and it's just looks like a fun sport. I tried it. I did 1 year of basketball in middle school, and it was definitely not my sport, but I had a great time. It was fun.
That was when you learned that you could stick with hockey and just be fine.
Exactly.
You talked about, getting ready for colleges and starting that process. Do you have any future goals that you're kind of looking at, or are you still deciding stuff like that?
I'm definitely still deciding. I'm not setting everything, but definitely planning on going to college here next year and just go from there, basically.
Are you someone that wants to go away for college, or would you like to stay a little bit closer to home?
Yeah, I think college is a good chance to be able to go away and see some other places. So I'm looking out of state for sure.
All right, what's the dream state? Like, if you could pick any state to live in, what's the dream state that you want to be? Do you want to be somewhere tropical, or are you more of a guy that wants to stay up north a little bit in that cold?
Dream state would probably be somewhere out like California. I got cousins out there. We go there a lot, and I love it up there. It's real fun.
All right. One more thing before I let you go, as I want to give you a chance to shout out your support system and all the people that have kind of been there for you over the years and have supported you in all your endeavors, not just ice hockey.
Yeah, just coaches, parents, obviously, and the school. School is great. They've been helping out the hockey program more and more, and every year it's been getting bigger and better.
All right, Dylan, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We wish you the best of luck all season. We know you're off to a great start. We will look forward to keep covering you, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
All right, thank you.
All right, that was Dylan Fellinger from Orange, but we have one more, Scotty. Max Siegel is going to be joining us, fellow captain of the Orange hockey team. Max, thank you so much for taking the time and being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Representing, too. I like it. I like that hoodie. Got it. So we started off Dylan's interview with just asking him about the world of high school hockey, because this is kind of our first interviews with hockey players in the high school level. What are some of your favorite things about this level of sport and being able to represent your high school on the hockey rink? And what are some of your favorite things about that?
I really like the games when all the fans come because the energy in the building is amazing. I always have liked hockey because of the physicality of the sport, and that's just been one of my favorites. I like playing the body, so that's what I like a lot.
You said the physicality of the sport. Obviously, you can't go to a hockey game and not realize that right off the bat. Have you always been someone that has embraced that part of the sport, or did you have to grow into someone that is like going to be physical?
Yeah, when I was younger playing in youth hockey, I wasn't as big as I am now, and muscular sort of, so I didn't like gain a lot of muscle. So over time, I've been playing the body more because at high school level, you kind of have to because everyone is pretty well skilled. So using your body more is an advantage to you. And I think as I got better in high school, I learned that I like to use the body more, and it's a good tactic.
When we talked to Dylan, we talked about the success that you guys were having early. Do you think that's starting to stem up the kind of interest of other kids in the Orange school system wanting to learn about hockey and maybe join the team in the next couple of years and try to hone their hockey skills and grow the program?
Yeah, for sure. So actually, after our first game, we got a couple of people to reach out to Dylan and I, and they were asking if they could join the team and start learning how to skate because they're freshmen or sophomores, and they want to be able to gain some of the skating skills before they graduate, and then they could possibly play junior or senior year. And I think that is huge for our program since we don't have a huge team.
That's something that I think makes hockey very fun because, well, fun and hard in the same sense. Because you can't, like with a basketball, you can pick up a ball, you can start shooting, you can work on it, and you probably wouldn't take too long to get a shot. But before you do anything with hockey, you have to learn how to skate, right? You have to really learn the fundamentals of just being on the ice. How long do you think it takes the average person to get their skating to a point when they can start really learning the game of hockey?
So I think to really learning the game of hockey and learning how to skate, it has to be about a couple years, depending on if you're starting in high school or you're starting at youth hockey. Youth hockey, it's more because you're not fully grown yet. And we actually have a player who's really athletic named Lawson Blazier, and he started about a month ago, and he's been cruising up and down the ice. He doesn't have the exact skills we need for the ice for playtime, but he's gotten a lot better.
That's impressive. 1 month. Imagine what he can do in like 3 or 4. One of the things we asked you about earlier is just representing your school. Obviously, you're representing it now. What makes you proud to be a Lion and proud to kind of be in the Orange school system and represent the orange and black?
Yeah, so I'm really proud to represent the orange and black because I'm carrying on a legacy of my brother who was on the hockey team as well. And I really just like playing for all the fans who enjoy hockey. And hockey is a different sport. Not too many people know about that Orange even has a team. So telling people about, oh, Orange has a hockey team, they're like, wow, that's so cool. And it's like, yeah. And having all the fans come to the games and seeing all of my fellow students in the stands and cheering us on, it's always a great time.
Not only do you have a hockey team, it's a dang good hockey team that you're on. A great start to the season. What has worked so well for you specifically in the first 6 games that you've had?
I think for my role this year, we lost a couple of seniors who are really offensive players, and for my role on defense is to be like a defensive forward, but also an enforcer on defense and protect the front of the net. So I think I've done a good job adapting to what I have to do this year by skating up the puck more and helping more on offense, and then making sure that no one's annoying our goalie in front of the net.
4 goals and 5 assists in 6 games. That means you've been responsible for 9 goals. You've had your hand in that. But the 5 assists is what kind of popped my eyes. I mean, being able to find other players and make other players better, what does that do for your game? Like, how much do you love trying to get the puck to other players and trying to give them a chance to get in the limelight a little bit?
Yeah, I think since youth hockey, I've always loved passing because it's like an art, saucing a pass or getting the pass, a stretch pass from the defensive end all the way across the ice. Those are some of my favorite connections because just the satisfaction of making that pass and then them going on to score is awesome. And trying to get to the puck to people who have not had the chance to score or who are right on the rim of scoring. And that's always great to see their joy when they get their first goal.
You talked about the physicality of hockey and how you love it, and it's pretty obvious. You watch any hockey game on any level, you go into it. I mean, you can't go into any game timid at all. So I want to know from you, what you we talked about the speed too and how it's fast, but you talked about how you embrace like kind of being really physical. I want to know, as far as getting pumped up for a game, give me a song or maybe a couple songs if you have a playlist. What helps to give you that extra adrenaline boost so when you go out there you could be at your best?
So we have a pregame playlist that Dylan plays on our speaker, but I think my favorite song to get me pumped up is Dreams and Nightmares by Meek Mill. And this year it's just connected with me because it's like a slow paced song, but then it gets faster and faster. And that gives me like the energy to just go out there and be as strong as possible and play the body.
Do you have any pregame routines that you think you have to stick to? Are you kind of superstitious about things that you do before a game?
I'm actually big on getting mentally prepared for my team. As a captain, Dylan and I have the opportunity to tell our teammates to dress up to school or to wear our warm-ups to the game. And really, I think getting mentally prepared for a game is almost more important than getting stretched out for a game. Because if you go in and you're down on yourself or you're not in the zone, like that's going to be more detrimental to you.
And it's a hard hitting sport. Obviously, you have to be mentally tough to take those hits and keep going. What do you think has been the key into building your mental toughness throughout your hockey career?
I think the way I play and the way I've been looked at by other teams over the course of youth hockey, like I wasn't I was never like a guaranteed on the best team on youth hockey. I was maybe sometimes on the lower, so I've always had a little like in like I just wanted to be better and get on the highest team. So I think that having that like little grudge on my shoulder has helped me a lot.
What was the hardest skill for you to master when you were kind of growing as a hockey player?
I think my shot from the blue line as a defenseman, it's key to get a good low hard shot on net to get tips and rebounds. And over youth hockey, I just wasn't able to get it all the way to the net as hard as I could. And since I've grown and gained muscle, it's been awesome to be able to see how I've mastered it and how I can get those shots on net and get those assists.
I asked Dylan who his hockey role models were. Who are some of your personal role models that you've had in your life?
Some of my personal role models are my mom for sure, because the hard work she puts in every day as a doctor and fighting through COVID and those times is something I look up to every day. And I think one of my biggest role models is my coach right now, Michael Berg. He was my coach actually in youth hockey for a year, and I stayed connected with him before he became our orange hockey coach last year. And the way he approaches games and approaches situations with referees and the way he portrays himself is something that I strive to do as well.
How excited were you last year when he became the coach and you obviously already had experience with him and knew his coaching style? I mean, that had to make you kind of jazzed up that he was going to be leading you guys.
Oh yeah, I texted him, or he texted me right away. It's like, let's do this, and I'm like, oh yes, we are. Like that was phenomenal.
You guys are doing it. You're off to a great start, as we said before, but obviously not about how you start, it's about how you finish. What kind of things do you think this team has to do going forward to keep this start going and to keep succeeding?
I think for us, our biggest challenge is to get through the first period without falling in the score, because some of our slow starts have really costed us because our second period and third period are really good goal differentials. But for our first period, we just need to be able to get out there and start off the bat and be super fast paced after the first and not have to be in a hole going into the second and third.
All right, so let's get to know you a little bit off the rink. What are some of your favorite snacks? I know athletes like to stay healthy, but you got to have a little bit of a sweet tooth every now and then. So what are your favorite things to snack on?
I really love some goldfish. I'm a goldfish guy. The salt, perfect amount of salt. And I also really love chocolate. That's not like I eat chocolate a lot. I know it's not good for you, but I have a sweet tooth for some dark chocolate.
What's your favorite chocolate bar?
I would say Hershey's, just the classic Hershey's chocolate bar. So yeah.
All right, as we're talking about food, it's lunchtime. We usually talk about food on these interviews. What's your favorite post game meal after? I'm sure hockey takes a lot out of you. You're probably hungry after a hockey game. What's your favorite post game meal?
I think for us, we usually, when we get a big win or we have a good game, we usually like to go to Condato's Tacos. I like some tacos, some chips, and some guacamole is a great post meal game.
If we have a lot of games on Tuesdays, you're gonna have Taco Tuesdays after games. That's
always
a great thing. You talked about it. You guys like to go out as a team. What are some team bonding memories that you have with this team that are some of your favorite?
I think the pregame meals that we have at our fellow teammates' homes, it's just a great way to bond before the game and like to get to know your teammates a lot better. Because as a freshman, you go in and you're like, I don't really know anyone besides the other freshmen, and that really makes you grow a bond a lot faster than just seeing them on the ice. Because on the ice, you're really just practicing. You're not like having a real conversation, which you do at these team meals.
We always know that there's one teammate that has like the best home to go to. So who has the best home to hang out at on the team?
I think Mr. Fellinger, Dylan Fellinger's house is the best. He has a great basement. We play NHL on the TV. We always have some Chick-fil-A nuggets. That's always a good time.
When you're playing NHL, who's your go-to team?
I would say the Blue Jackets because that's who I usually watch the most if I watch hockey. So that's usually who I pick.
All right. Before we let you go, I want to give you a chance to shout out the people that have supported you throughout your years and the people that always have your back.
Yeah, I'd like to shout out my family, Orange Schools for supporting us. And like Dylan said, help with funding for the team because that's always a challenge. I also want to shout out Coach Berg for being the best coach I've ever had and great role model.
All right, Max, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today and join us and give us a little glimpse into Orange ice hockey. We're so excited that we have Orange as a part of the YSN family, and we can't wait to keep covering you guys, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
Thank you so much.
Max Siegel from Orange Ice Hockey joining us live on the show along with Dylan Fellinger. We thank them both for their time. Ice hockey, Scotty. We can do that. We got it on YSN.
I mean, it's untapped potential now. we just keep, there's nothing we can't do here at YSN.
Absolutely nothing. I mean, we keep adding sports that we've been able to cover. And Orange gives us an opportunity to add ice hockey to that list, as well as we've heard they have a really good gymnastics program. Hopefully we'll be able to talk to some gymnasts in the next couple of weeks. And obviously their boys and girls basketball teams off to pretty good starts. I had a chance to call their girls basketball game over the weekend against Middle Ridge. And so a lot of fun things happening in Orange. And it's just another way that we can show our excitement that they're a part of our YSN family. And can't wait to continue our coverage of the Lions throughout the season. Scotty, that's a deep breath, right? Let's take a breath. Let's take a break. And when we come back, we'll talk about last night's games and we'll preview the night ahead on YSN. Don't go anywhere. This is Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens.
Live here outside the Mahoney County.
On air, online,
Wednesday afternoon weather update.
Very dangerous.
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
I'm on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
As fine as the eye can see, the finest hardwoods from the finest trees. Made for your home and within your means, Baird Brothers will help fulfill your dreams. Let life and light come shining through in quiet morns. And heavy traffic, too. Find your easy-to-afford fine hardwood floors and doors and more at BairdBrothers.com.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Welcome back to Running Point on YSN. As Scotty takes a big stretch as we're in the home stretch of this show. We want to thank Gary Altizer for joining us for Wrestling Wednesdays, and the two members of the Orange Ice hockey team, Dylan Fillinger and Max Siegel, for both joining us. Before we get out of here, we got to go over the scores of last night's basketball games. Scotty, basketball is in full swing now. We've put a bow on the football season's two state champions, and it's time to go full bore into basketball. Here are some scores for you last night. United opened up EOAC play with a big win over Latonia, 55-16. They look good after dropping their first game in a heartbreaker to Heartland Christian. Also in the EOAC, Valley Christian gets a win over East Palestine, 59-41. They were at home. Heartland Christian, this was a thriller against Jackson Milton, 52-49. They hold off the Blue Jays. Blue Jays had the last possession, couldn't get the shot to fall, and the Lions get the win by 3. Other scores for you: East Liverpool took care of Carrollton, 55-35. This game was close for a minute, but East Liverpool pulled away late. In this game against Girard, another game that was close, looked like it was going to be a close game, back and forth. Girard is able to pull away from Campbell Memorial late, 65-51. The game was a lot closer than the score indicates, as Girard's able to get a 14-point victory. Canfield, excuse me, we'll start with Canfield. They go into East, 69-52. They get the win there. Now we're at Salem. They win on the road against the Springfield Tigers. An impressive victory. Once again, this is a game that was in hand, and then Salem let Springfield get a little bit close to the end, but they were able to hold them off 63-59. The Quakers get the win in the jungle. 38-35. We're in one girls basketball score because the Cuyahoga Valley Conference plays girls basketball on Tuesdays and Fridays. So Orange, who we just talked to their hockey program, their girls fell in a heartbreaker to Hawken, 38-35. Another score back to the boys' side. Crestview gets the win over Western Reserve, 48-42. Then we had Fitch win over Poland, 47-41. On the other scores for you, Howland got the win over Newton Falls in the Battle of the Tigers, 55-40. Liberty was able to go on the road and beat Lakeview 62-51. We have Strasburg Franklin coming into McDonald and giving the Blue Devils a really tough time. 65-32. Strasburg beats McDonald there. We have South Range. They had a halftime lead. It slipped away. West Branch had a huge second half and beat South Range in the first game of the season for both teams. 56-39 was the final score there. We have Edgewood girls beating Harvey 60-28. The Edgewood Warriors still undefeated on the season. those are your final scores. Scotty, I know you were on the website all morning. You were checking out our recaps that are on ysnlive.com. Were there any games or scores or stats that really popped out at you while you were checking out the website?
Yeah, obviously this past week, so much of the talk was on our schools in the football in the
Rightfully
state
so, yeah.
championship matchups, and like you said, rightfully so. But I gotta tell you, I'm really impressed with Canfield boys on the hardwood as they improved. You talked about their win over East last night, so they improved to 2-0 with the win over East. And Ben Weaver, 16 points in that game as well. So I'm really going to be watching Canfield. Tony Russo also had a big. I think he scored 9 of his 13 points in the second half. So Canfield on the hardwood after I saw what they did in winning decisively in football in the state championship. I just wanted to turn my eye to the hardwood now, and so far so good. They're gonna be a team I'm really, continuing to follow as the season goes on here, and I like to see how they evolve. But and it's always good they win it, kind of pulling away against East, winning by almost 20. But it's gonna be fun to watch too when they get into some close games and how they handle that. So.
I think what's impressive is they played while their football team was still playing. Their first game was last week, obviously, so they didn't even have the football players that are going to be on the basketball team weren't even with them. And then last night they win, but those football players aren't in basketball mindset yet. So just imagine when they get these football players back into their groove. Obviously, they have a couple of really good basketball players that also play football. So they've looked impressive without them. Now they're going to look even more impressive with them. Of course, that's the hope of the Cardinals.
Yeah, for sure.
Same with South Range. I mean, they played last night, but that's coming off of 3 days after your football team has won the state championship. So there were a couple guys that probably hadn't gotten into basketball mode yet. They had a really quick start. They got up on West Branch early. I think it was 10-3, and then they led at halftime. But West Branch was able to really outride them and maybe take advantage of a little bit of depth issues for South Range while they're trying to get their football kids back.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things where it could take some time. For South Range, but the good thing is
that's a good reason to have a slow start.
Yeah,
I'll take a state championship.
Yeah, for sure. The first ever, and not to get too far off topic, but how about them not only winning the game, but not just winning it, but dominating. And I think most people thought even if the Raiders won, it was going to be close. It wasn't close at all. They hang a 50 burger on them, and with the cherry on top with the 53. So they just put on a clinic, man.
We were talking to Gary about it before the show, in our I guess you call it a pre-show meeting with Gary. But one of the things I said was I did not expect Ironton to look like the more nervous, less experienced team, because obviously they'd been to the state championship before, and they'd actually been there 3 of the last 4 times. South Range had never been there before, but it looked like it was the opposite. South Range really didn't make a lot of mental mistakes that showed nerves, and Ironton definitely did. I mean, the fumble they had was a mesh point issue where the quarterback pulled a little bit too late, They had a blocked punt, things like that, mental mistakes. And I was like, oh, man. But that also brings up, like, it's got to be tough to lose that many state championships and feel the pressure of this is the one we have to win. That might have went into it. I don't know.
Yeah. But on the flip side, they've won 2. South Range never won one.
Right.
But
those
South
two
Range
for
is
Ironton came way
South-
back. Those 2 Ironton won are so long ago that it's almost irrelevant at this point.
That's true.
Like none of these players even.
And South Range, I mean, let's face it, they've been really knocking on the door. They've been chomping at the bit.
You just wonder if those South Range Kirtland games in the last couple of years were de facto state championships. Because we saw what Kirtland was able to do to Ironton after they beat South Range those 2 years. So you just wonder, you scratch your head like, well, were those really the de facto state championships? You'll never know. But here they are, state champions.
Yeah, state champions.
State champs.
How does it feel, Anthony?
It feels good, man. It feels really good. Like
you're probably still like floating.
My timeline on Facebook was full of people that I went to high school with saying like it's a good day to be a Raider, proud to be a Raider. It's one of those days like the alma mater says true to South Range High, we will stay, and that it's easy to do that in this day and age.
You're gonna play that old song.
I may or may not have put on my Letterman's jacket on Friday. May or may not have had my Letterman jacket on.
You'll be blaring that old song, that one that goes, "Believe it or not, I'm walking on air."
I'm walking on air. We're gonna get copyright friends. I just know it, just for that one little tune. Let's go over the games that are gonna be on the network tonight, real quick. It's a Wednesday, which means it's a little bit slower day than the rest, but we still have some coverage for you. We're gonna have 4 girls basketball games. Alliance will travel to West Branch. Michael Janaki will have the call there. Cheney will be at Heartland Christian. Mark Franken will be headlining that call. I'm going to be covering Richie at Canfield as he has the coaches show with Coach Pavlansky at Coco's Pizza. But while you're watching that, while you're at Coco's Pizza, or whether you're at Coco's Pizza or just watching it, bring up the girls' game. They have Ursuline coming to town at 7:00. Should be a fun one. Also, Warren Harding will travel to Cardinal Mooney. Alec Caberna will have the call there. We have bowling on the network in about an hour at 3:00. Jefferson versus Struthers. The school will be broadcasting that bowling matchup. One basketball game happening tonight on in the family network, so it won't be on the network. Harvey traveling to Edgewood. Remember that Cuyahoga Valley Conference has the girls play on Tuesdays and Fridays for the first half of the season, and then they'll flip back with the boys. So I think they want to give both teams the chance to play on Tuesdays and Fridays and have that Friday night headliner. So girls play until January on Tuesday and Friday. Boys will play on Monday and Wednesday for conference games, and then it flips after in January. It flips back to girls on Monday and Wednesday, boys on Tuesday and Friday. So that's what's going to be on the network tonight, and we look forward to it. Get over to ysnlive.com/live to check out the whole schedule and check out your links. We want to thank our wonderful sponsors for making sure those games are able to be brought to you for free, especially our sponsor up in that top right corner of your screen, Greenwood Chevrolet, the sponsor of our show. We thank them always for believing in the show, believing in YSN, and sponsoring our everything that we are able to do. And with that, we will bid you adieu. Tomorrow, 1 to 2 on Running Point. I'll be back, and then Friday it'll be me and Ty recapping the whole week. Should be a fun rest of the week on Running Point. We're gonna have some fun. Scotty, we'll see you next Wednesday, buddy.
Sure thing. And man, I'm loving this variety. Wrestling, hockey. What
do I have up my sleeve next Wednesday, Scotty? You never know.
Yeah, maybe foosball.
Foosball. I don't know about that. Maybe I was thinking maybe some gymnastics, Scotty. What would you think about that? Perfect 10.
I'd love that. I'd love that.
I got some gymnastics autographs on my desk over there, so it might be time to break those out if we bring gymnasts on.
Oh, I'm pumped for that.
Pumped. Here we go.
Can't wait.
Can't wait. Let's go. Can't wait. Okay. We're gonna head out of here. Thank you so much to everybody for tuning in. This was Running Point.